And now, the Android Basics segment. This is a segment where we discuss the things that power your device from behind the scenes. And now, here's this week's episode, Android Basics. We now move on to our next segment, and this is the Android Basics area. And we continue our journey through the Samsung One UI, and we bring you part 2 of the general management. And John will kick it off by giving us an overview of the part 2 of general management. John?
Welcome back to our continuing series on Samsung's One UI. We are still working our way through the settings, and more specifically, the general management settings. In the last installment, we covered languages. In this installment, we will be moving forward, mostly covering keyboard and mouse related settings, but we're going to start with date and time settings, which we have right here.
Date and time.
Going in here,
Date and time. Navigate up.
there's just a few
Button.
options.
Automatic date and time. Use the date and time provided by your network on. Switch. Automatic time zone. Use the time zone provided by your mobile network on. Switch. Set time zone based on location. Use your phone's location to determine the time zone. This may help if your mobile network sometimes provides the wrong time zone. Off switch. Use 24-hour format. 1 p.m. Off switch.
And those are all the options in here.
General management. Date and time.
Next,
Keyboard settings. English, US.
whichever is currently your default keyboard, you will have an option to go to that keyboard settings here. Mine is Gboard, that's why it says Gboard settings. But below this, you can choose your default keyboard.
Keyboard list and default. TalkBack Braille keyboard, Samsung keyboard, Google voice typing, Fudo voice input method, Gboard, and TalkBack Braille
But
keyboard.
going in here,
Keyboard list and default. Navigate up. Button. Default keyboard.
here's where
Gboard.
you can change your default keyboard.
All. Heading.
And then here is the list of all of your keyboards,
Samsung keyboard. English, US.
and where you can enable them or disable them. And then at the bottom below this list,
Keyboard button on navigation bar. On. Switch.
this is where you could choose whether you want the button to be visible to change input methods on the navigation bar. And then also,
Show button to hide keyboard. Off switch.
this is the back button that will be visible to back you out of the keyboard. Going back,
General management. Keyboard list and default. Physical keyboard. Not
so
connected.
below keyboard list, we have physical keyboard.
Physical keyboard. Navigate up.
We have a
Button.
few options in here.
Keyboard assistance. Heading. Show on-screen keyboard. Show the on-screen keyboard while a physical keyboard is being used on. Switch.
So if you want a little more screen real estate, you would turn this switch off.
Keyboard shortcuts. Show explanations of the keyboard shortcuts on the screen.
This will take you to a list of all the keyboard shortcuts if you want to know what they are.
Change language shortcut. Shift plus space, Control plus space, Left Alt plus Shift.
And you can go in here if you want to enable or disable these 3 shortcuts for changing language.
Customize keys.
Customize keys. I'll go in here to show you what you can do.
Customize keys. Navigate up.
And what we have here
Button.
is
Caps lock. Caps lock.
I'm going to go through these 4.
Control. Control. CMD. CMD. Alt. Alt.
So you can change any of these 4 to any of these 4. So caps lock, control, command, alt. Of course, command would also be the search key on a Chrome keyboard or the Windows key on a Windows keyboard. But if you're used to a certain layout and you want to change any of these keys to be another one of these keys, this is where you would go to do it. Below this,
Esc.
you could choose whether you want escape to be an actual escape key or just the back key, as if you did the back gesture or hit the back button.
App shortcuts.
And then here you can set up app shortcuts.
App shortcuts. Navigate up.
And in
Button.
here,
CMD plus C not set.
as you heard, it said CMD plus C. So there's a whole list of all the letters and what you want them to open as far as apps go. So CMD in this case, if you were using a Windows keyboard, would be the Windows key. So you could set, for example, if you hold Windows key and hit G, you could set it to open Google. If you held the Windows key and hit M, you could set it to open Messenger, and so on. Backing out.
Customize keys. App shortcuts. Reset.
And at the
Button.
bottom is a button to reset all the settings for the keyboard customization. And that was the last of the physical keyboard settings. So backing out of here.
General management. Physical keyboard. Not connected. Mouse and trackpad.
We have a couple of settings in here.
Mouse and trackpad. Navigate up.
Now you may
Button.
think you would never use a mouse and trackpad, but last time I used it, I'll admit it's been a while, but the last time I used it, the talkback focus would follow the mouse pointer, so as you moved the mouse around the screen, it would be similar to Explore by Touch. So it is possible to use it, and some people might find this easier in certain setups. So here are the options.
Pointer speed. Slow. Fast. 100%. Wheel scrolling speed. Slow. Fast. 0%. Enhance pointer precision. Make your mouse cursor move faster or slower depending on how fast you move your mouse on. Switch.
And we have,
Pointer size and color.
you can customize the size and color.
Primary mouse button. Left.
And then here you can customize what all the mouse buttons do.
Secondary button. Open contextual menu. Middle button. App defined function. Additional button 1. Back. Additional button 2. Forward.
So you can customize it to make things a little bit quicker for you. And that brings us to the end of what we're going to be covering today. In the next and final installment of the general management section, we will cover the rest of the settings in this area. But for now, I'll send it back to the crew for further discussion.
Thank you so much, John, for that preamble of the part 2 of our general management in Samsung One UI as we continue through these settings. Now, I really like this part, and that customization, I didn't know it was there, believe it or not, where you could go in. I'm talking about the keyboard now, where you can actually choose to use some command keys or, modify them and all of that. I didn't know that because, you know what, I don't use physical keyboards. Does any of you from time to time use a physical keyboard with their phone? Sally, do you do that? Or Karen or John, do you take advantage of this?
I've got a physical keyboard, but I didn't really dig deeper on that settings at all. I'm using the default ones, but it's a great thing to have those additions.
So I have a question for you, since you are a keyboard user, physical keyboard user. Maybe a few years ago, there was a bug where you wouldn't, you couldn't change the language when you are typing. So the shortcut keys to switch the language weren't working. So is it still there?
I mean, for me, it works. I mean, changing the language, it works for me fine. But before going to the physical keyboard, I'm normally using the Braille keyboard. So I need to go back to the virtual Samsung keyboard and set up the languages. And after all, it's going to work. If I'm using the virtual, I'm using the Braille keyboard and the physical keyboard, then it's having some troubles to write anything. It's getting really tough.
Yeah, but do you need to change the language from Samsung keyboard every time, or just
No,
you said it?
just once.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
good. So it's fixed.
Yeah, I think.
It's interesting that sometimes these things appear, and then when they get fixed, there's no fanfare. You never know when they got fixed or whatever it is. It's just one of those things. Probably something that came along with version 6.1. Another thing you touched on, John, that I like, because like when I was traveling, I'm talking about the time and date area now, where that automatic time switching, if you travel to another time zone or whatever, that's a very nice feature. And then, of course, I was in Europe, and all that 24-hour thing, and I'm like, hey, no. So I went in there. I said, forget about this, 24-hour thing. Give it to me in plain
You're
12-hour clock.
you're like, I don't want to have to do math every time I
No,
look at the time.
I hate math. And so it kind of threw me into confusion, 17, whatever. I'm like, what in the world? So I went into the time and date and said, no, turn this feature off. And I give me a good old 12-hour clock. I really don't like this 24-hour. But, you guys, Sally, do you use a 24-hour or you use a 12-hour clock?
Well, we use 24 hours, and when it comes to 12 hours, I'm always confusing. When it's 12, do you say AM or PM?
Well, it does say AM or PM. There's no
No,
confusion here.
I mean,
Oh, I know what he means because it's backwards. Like 12
yeah,
p.m. should be
yeah,
AM
exactly.
because
Yeah.
it's
That's the
yeah,
thing.
so it is backwards.
Yeah,
So
well, but
in
it was
here
messed up
in
from the get-go.
yeah,
No
here
one
in
ever cared to fix it.
here in Turkey, at least when it's like 24 hours, when it comes to the midnight, it's 0.
Yeah.
We don't say 24 o'clock, we say 0. And after all, it's going up, so it's 23:59, and then it's 0, 0:08, 0:09. It's goes like that.
Yeah.
I'll admit that makes much more sense.
I
But
think so.
when you grow up being used to the 12-hour and then you all of a sudden you have to start doing math, it's, as Warren would say, no bueno.
Well, and I'm, clinging
So
on to the imperial way of doing things back then. 1 o'clock. I like the sound of 1 o'clock or
So
2 o'clock.
the thing is, when someone tells me let's meet at 12 a.m., I'm confused. What is a.m. and what is 12 a.m. and 12 p.m.?
Hey,
Yeah, but
if you're
nobody's
meeting
gonna
somebody
tell
at
you to meet at 12, a.m. in the morning, in the nighttime, Sally, unless it's your
if
squeeze.
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah,
If somebody's
thank you,
meeting
John.
you at 12 a.m., you're probably looking forward to it.
Yeah. So if I say let's have lunch at 12 p.m. or 12 o'clock, of course, it's going to be in the afternoon, right? No one eats lunch at midnight, unless if it's at breakfast. I
Oh,
remember
that
that.
was a really bad confession. Then I messed it up. Somebody told me to let's meet at 12 a.m.
Yeah, like I said, if someone told you that, it will be your squeeze, going on a midnight adventure. But there was a casino here that we went to. They had like a midnight breakfast. So if you like breakfast at midnight, you can go for breakfast. Very interesting. It was during one of my little trips that we ran into such a thing.
To say something regarding this confusion that Saleh was talking about, just some people are confused about the PM and the AM, and they are just working in like arranging meetings and stuff. I remember once I was applying for a job and I was doing a training. Then I was contacted by them telling me that, hey, we have a meeting at 11 p.m., sorry. I was like, oh my God, 11 p.m.? Well, that's weird, but it's okay. I'm training and it's okay. I will show them that I'm loyal to the work, devoted to it. So I said, okay, yes, no problem. Then after that, I was just thinking, is it really normal to have a meeting at 11 p.m.? Then I asked the person, okay, are we still on our meeting? Is it still the same? Then I was told, oh no, sorry, I meant 11 a.m. and already the time had passed. I was like, that's crazy, really. I mean, you are just arranging meetings and you don't know what is PM and what's AM.
That is absolutely crazy because, I mean, whether you use 24-hour clock or not, everyone knows that AM is the morning time. And so for someone to say we're having a meeting at 11 p.m., the dream dust is busy trying to creep into my eyes and cloud me up, you know?
At least it's not the time for work.
No, it's not the time for work. Absolutely not. At 11 p.m., a lot of people are asleep, unless, of course, you're a midnight owl or whatever. A lot of people at 11, will be having some dreams, whatever the case may be.
Not me, actually. 11 p.m. is still something early.
Well, I used to be like that. I would be up till like 12, 1 o'clock and things like that. But I think as I get a little bit older, I kind of have been going to bed a little bit earlier, maybe like 10, 11, sometimes 12, I'm still awake. I was reading till like 12:30 last night. Sometimes that happens, or else when I was younger, I was up late. So another thing here that sometimes people don't know about, because the keyboard is a very, very important. I look at two things on our phone as very important: the battery and the keyboard. These are the ones that we use most of the time, whether you're sending a text message or whether you're doing whatever, trying to search for something. The keyboard is an integral part of our lives as we use our phone. And that switching of keyboards, if you go in here, as John has shown, you could enable a keyboard that you want to pick from when you are, typing something and you want to switch keyboards and all of that. Sometimes people forget and you buy a brand new keyboard and it's not showing up. Just always remember to go in here and make that change, make sure it's enabled, because if you don't enable it here, adding it to the list of keyboards that becomes available to you, you're not going to see that keyboard when you want to switch to it. And another thing that I also like that John mentioned here is how you go about choosing which one you want to make the default. For example, if you're not liking your Samsung keyboard, for example, and you want to change it to something else, be sure to just tap on the one that says Samsung keyboard and then go choose a different one, maybe Gboard, or is Grammarly usable now? It used to work and then they messed it up. I haven't gone back to it. Have any of you guys tried Grammarly keyboard? I used to like it, but then they messed it up. I don't know what's going on. John, did you try Grammarly? I know I have Microsoft Swift, both of them, the beta and the regular Swift key.
No, I've never tried Grammarly. I bounce back and forth between Samsung and Gboard, and of course the Braille keyboard. It's been a long time since I've tried a third-party keyboard.
So maybe I'm a keyboard junkie. I got, like the Kruma keyboard. I know Karen and I both used to like Kruma. I haven't tried Kruma keyboard in a long time. I would like to try it, see if it's working any better. Karen, do you still have Kruma?
I have never used it. You're confusing me with someone else. I used to like the blind accessibility keyboard.
I'm trying to just, rub it in on you.
I'm trying to remember if I know about it or not, actually.
Okay, no, I don't think you've.
Yeah,
you've
I've never
talked
even
about
heard of
Kruma.
it. I just know what he was talking about. I was like, oh, this is a secret keyboard that only he and Kareen know about.
Yeah. We used to send messages to each other using this.
Exactly, using the Kruma keyboard.
But good name, by the way.
It's a beautiful name. You should try it. So what I like about Chroma keyboard is the adaptive nature of it. It changes color depending on the app that you are using, and that's one of the perks of Chroma keyboard. It's accessible. It wasn't, and back in the day that we had Google Plus, and that was when I wrote about it on there, and the guy went and fixed it, and some people came to my defense on it when I lambasted the developer for not making it accessible. So, going back to Google Plus days, and so I'm talking about 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. And so, yeah, Chroma keyboard became accessible, but it's not quite as good as one would like it to be. I mean, it just had the basics down right, but most of the important things are not there.
Is it still in the Play Store?
Yeah, it's still on the Play Store. Look at Chroma, Chrooma, I believe that's how it's spelled, and you'll see it on the Play Store. Now you can get that and then send me a message from Chroma.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, I want also to test if Browse by Touch would work without it. I mean, if it would work without Browse by Touch.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting idea. Try it and see if it works with that Browse by Touch. I'm sure it would work. Maybe you'll get some of the functionalities that are not available with a screen reader.
Yeah, let's see. So I will check it out, and maybe you could also do a demo about it.
Yeah, maybe I should. Chroma, I'll check it again. I have it on my phone, and I'll switch to it later on and see if it's still accessible. You know how it is that sometimes they kind of get things messed up. So I hope this one hasn't been messed up. I'd like to give it another try.